good afternoon, and welcome to NCIA's Industry Essentials Educational Webinar Series, our premier digital educational platform featuring a variety of interactive programming to provide you timely, engaging, and essential education when and where your team needs it most. My name is Brian Gilbert, the Deputy Director of Events here at NCIA, and as always, I'm very excited to welcome you all to the second of two Catalyst Conversation series being hosted today in celebration of Black History Month. Before we get started, a thank you and final note to all of our guests who are joining us for the limited preview on our Facebook live stream as well. If you're an active NCIA member, follow the short link in our description to log into your account and join the conversation. If you're not an active NCIA member, follow the Join Now link to activate your membership or the Register Now link to purchase a discounted pass so you don't miss out on this invaluable programming. Now, let's get this show on the road. Today's Catalyst Conversation program will focus on recognizing Black cultivators who are trailblazing the field within the industry. They'll share their insights on how they got into the game, best practices for cultivating quality cannabis, and discuss their favorite strains. I know our audience is eager to dive into today's program, so let's not waste any more time. To kick things off, I'd like to welcome our moderator, Tahir Johnson, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Manager here at NCIA, to the virtual stage. The floor is yours, my man. You can take it away and kick things off from here.
Thanks, Brian. I appreciate that. And what's going on, fam, to everybody out there. Appreciate y'all tuning in with us for Catalyst Conversations. This is a really special one, for Black History Month, to have these brothers here that are making moves in the cannabis industry. As many of us may know, there's only about 4% African-American ownership in the entire industry. And not only are these brothers owning their businesses, but they're also excelling and killing the game. So without further ado, let me just introduce today's guests. I have with me Jesse Horton, CEO of Loud, Will Perry, the co-owner of Magic Hour Cannabis, Chris Ball from Ball Family Farms, Reginald Stanfield, Just Incredible Cultivation, and my brother Brian Mitchell from Black Star. What's up, fam? Y'all could all come on.
What up, Tahir? Good to see you again, my brother. Good morning.
My bro, what up, what up?
What's up, everybody? Good to be here. Thanks to Tahir for putting this on, man.
Absolutely, man. It's a pleasure to have you, brother. And while we have y'all here just starting up, could we have each of y'all introduce yourself? Jesse, I'll start with you, man. Tell us about Loud, man. You've somebody that's been an inspiration for me since I came in the game. Not only are you doing what you're doing with growing, but you've been a long time advocate, and that's such an important part of the industry. So, please tell us about you and your business, bro.
Yo, I appreciate it, man. I'll try to be short. I know there's a lot of people here that got a lot to say. So, my name is Jesse Horton. I'm happy to be here. I used to be an engineer. I came into the cannabis industry about 8 years ago when I moved to Portland, Oregon. Started growing in the medical cannabis industry, kind of in my basement, and really started within that subculture. Decided to leave my job, but at the same time, I worked with some really dope individuals from across the nation to start an organization called the Minority Cannabis Business Association. And that was really focused on making sure, right, when we first got into the industry, realizing that the amount of opportunity that was available for our communities, combined with the fact that, the arrest rates in our communities, for example, I've been arrested 3 times for under a gram. My dad spent 7 years in prison for a, small cannabis distribution charge before he, was supposed to go to college. So, I felt that really closely. So decided to work with those individuals to figure out a way to get more of us in the industry, to figure out a way to develop a narrative that included all of the different aspects that we could win. So that would be, business, entrepreneurship, jobs, career opportunities, medical growth or medical opportunities, working with Dr. Rachel Knox. And then also, making sure that the tax money benefited our communities and people that maybe didn't even care about cannabis, but still were affected by, the mass incarceration that really hurt our communities. So did that, but really focused mainly on cultivation. Loud is my company, LOWD, focused on craft, cannabis cultivation, energy and water efficiency, as well as making sure that we're representing that same subculture that got this whole thing started in the cannabis industry and is really driving all the trends. So that's who I am, and Loud is my company. Happy to be on with y'all.
Thanks, man. It's definitely for the culture, man. Appreciate you, Black man. Next up, we're gonna keep it Oregon, man. My brother Will Perry was good, bro.
What's good, bro? Will Perry here. I'm the owner at Magic Hour Craft Cannabis. We produce craft cannabis out here in Portland, Oregon. And similar to Jesse, we're trying to change the industry from the inside out. So, you know, you mentioned the 4% Black and brown ownership. We're trying to raise that up. So yeah, I'm honored to be here, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely, bro. It's a pleasure to have you. Keeping it on the west side, my brother Chris Ball, CB was good, bro.
What up, big dog? First of all, man, let me just say it's really an honor, man, to be sitting on this thing with a bunch of Black owners in the cannabis space. So all of you brothers on here, man, like this is a dream manifested for me, as I know it probably is for all of y'all. So I just want to salute y'all, you know, this morning and tell y'all how proud I am to be sitting on this panel, you know, with a bunch of Black faces like myself, digging into this industry. So after that, a little bit about me. I'm Chris Ball. I'm the CEO and founder of Ball Family Farms. We are the first fully vertically integrated social equity license out here in LA. I have the biggest footprint in the social equity space in Los Angeles with 100,000 square feet. I am a, you know, trap god turned legal cannabis owner. So, you know, got my start, you know, in cannabis when I was about 16, selling weed out my backpack to put myself through school. You know, fast forward to catching my indictment in 2010 for distributing 2,000 pounds of weed across the United States. Paid my debt to society, came out, went right back to it, you know, because it was calling me until I got introduced to the social equity program in 2018 and Ball Family Farms was born. The purpose for us, man, is just the same like the other brothers, like Jesse and like Will said, man, like craft cannabis. You know, I'm in the space to grow luxury weed. I am not in the space to grow commercial weed. I'm in the space to try to provide some of the best cannabis and medicine possible. I was able to take my mother has rheumatoid arthritis, so I was able to get her off of opioids with cannabis. So from then on, man, it's just been a complete and utter passion of mine to grow some of the best medicine possible. And I'm here, you know, to kind of push our culture and push the social equity program forward. I would like to see more brothers like myself who have been disenfranchised by the war on drugs, who have suffered for the war on drugs, who maybe have some charges based on drugs. And I want to make sure that I can provide a way and trailblaze a path for them so that they too can come into the space and maybe change the trajectory of their life or their family's life. They deserve to be a part of this business and they deserve a piece of the pie. So that's why I'm here. That's my purpose. And I'm happy to be here, man. I'm happy to be on this panel.
Man, bro, I'm happy to have you, man. And before we come back to Cali, let's take it to the East Coast to my brother Reginald Stanfield out of Boston. What's good, bro?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Reginald Stanfield. I'm the CEO and founder of Just Incredible Cultivation. We are the first Black-owned cultivation in the state of Mass. I think we're currently still the only standalone cultivation. So, you know, we're focused, you know, on making something that's just incredible and not just this pushing in and out and just doing it to make money. For me, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I started my first business when I was 22. Out of college. It's called Masters of Mixology. It's in 4 different states. Soon to be in 6 when COVID stopped. Kind of jumped ahead a little bit. I want to say I'm happy to be up here to the rest of these panelists. I'm so mad that we got robbed the opportunity of sitting together on the stage and being next to each other because of COVID. And I can't wait for that to become a reality so I can just be in the presence of greatness and people who fought like I did. We started our grow as a general applicant. I looked ahead and it was like, you know, I'm not going to wait for something to come to a state where I was at or I was living. So I decided to close a couple of my businesses. Me and my partners, we did what we had to do, move back home. You know, did it the raw way. We spent multiple trips from Maryland to Massachusetts, 7.5 hours to secure our ACA, multiple nights where we went up, went back, went up, went back in the same night. And, you know, we lived in an RV for 2.5 years outside of the site of our business. Until we built it, we actually built our building with our own hands, and we started to do it at small scale. And we're planning on scaling up, open our next facility in 2022. So, just something about us, Source, we were all from the ground up, all minority owned, and just doing our thing out here in Maz and the cold mountain tops of Covington. Thank you guys.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that, bro. And we bring it back to Cali. Last but absolutely not least, my brother Bryant Mitchell, Black Star Farms. Bryant, what up, bro?
What up, brother? How's it going, Taylor? Good to hear you, man. I got to echo what everybody else is saying. I'm beyond honored to be on this panel. I've had the privilege to meet a lot of these brothers in person. I can't say enough about the ones I met in person, the ones I haven't, I've heard about. Looking forward to meeting you in person soon. And so we can have that sit down and really collab. So that being said, very similar story, man. I mean, you're not here unless you put in work. And, coming from, from Texas, I came here too to pursue what I thought was, going to be invaluable to my community and what I thought could, be turned around from the war on drugs and kind of being detrimental to my community to something that was special. I wanted to see that through. And so, been here in LA, grinding since 2012, lived in the warehouse kind of thing. Was unfortunately raided in 2013 at one of my shops, which enabled me to be positioned to be social equity here in LA. Happy to be here today. It's not been an easy journey, but the goal was to bring, as many of my brothers are saying, good, clean cannabis to in particular to my people, and also enable people to get here. I think it's our duty to help those. If we know it was this hard to get here, let's try to make it a little bit easier for those that are coming behind us and be more successful and bring a bigger footprint to Black cannabis. So excited beyond measure to be here. I'm looking forward to the discussion, and I hope we have many more after this.
Absolutely. Yeah, we definitely got to have many more, man. And, I'm just going to jump right into it, man, because it's something that all of y'all brothers said, man. There's this common perception, I think, from corporate people in cannabis that that people that come from where we come from don't have the ability to build businesses and do this. Yet all of you all have been able to excel. Could you talk a little bit about? Could somebody lead us off and talk a little bit about what it means to be a Black man in cannabis and what it's been like, building a business? Jesse, could you start us off?
Of course. What it means to be a Black man in cannabis. That's a pretty deep question. I would say it means that we have a lot of responsibility on our shoulders, a lot of opportunity. To whom much is given, much is expected. And I think it kind of guides, everything. From my perspective of being a Black man in cannabis is the major opportunity that we've been given with the cannabis industry in general. Each one of us grinded to make it happen. But regardless of that, the universe had to align in a lot of different ways in order for us to really figure this thing out. As you can hear from all the stories from the brothers who are talking, right? The universe aligned. So with that being said, and considering that, the cannabis industry needs Black men to be successful in order to be legitimate. We have a lot of weight, a lot of responsibility on our shoulders, not only to run strong, legitimate businesses and to show how it can be done, not just having a business, but having a business that's better than, some of the others that are out there, right? Doing things at a different level, right? Showing, as we Black men often know, in order for us to make it or in order for us to get a real shot, a lot of times we have to be better, or we have to go into it saying that we have to be better than every person in there in order to even get a chance, right? So I think with that being said, as long as, we have to conduct our businesses like that, but at the same time, there's a lot on our plate to figure out how we can help other people to have nice careers at our businesses, successful careers. How do we help other people get into the industry to see their dreams come to reality like ours have? Because there is a lot of opportunity to make that happen. When I jumped in the MCBA, last thing I said, what we saw was that there's just, from a corporate standpoint, we used to always say, when there's an easy opportunity, there's low-hanging fruit, right? There's low-hanging fruit everywhere. And that's what I saw when I got into the cannabis industry. Is like, yo, you show up at this meeting you can make an opportunity for 10 other people just by being there and speaking, right? You do this, you can make an opportunity for all these people. You do this even more specifically, you can, show a lot of other people, right? So there's just so many things that you can do with a little bit of effort. So that just, we have to really make sure that we put in that effort as much as we possibly can while building a business and family to really see our opportunity, our true ability come to reality in this industry. Otherwise, we just had a business and that's great, but we can do a hell of a lot more as Black men in the cannabis industry.
Most def. And then, taking that big risk to, get in the game, like you said, is definitely not easy. One of the things about cultivation in particular is that actually knowing how to grow is a real skill. So how do you do that? Will, talk a little bit about, what you had to do to, get the expertise to learn how to grow to get to where you are with Magic Hour.
Yeah, man. So I think a lot of people have the false perception that you just get into cannabis, you're smoking blunts and you're counting money, but it's completely the opposite. Like you have to start shoveling dirt. You have to start cleaning equipment. You have to start as a trimmer. So you kind of have to start at the lowest positions. Similar to if you started, trying to be a chef, you have to be a line cook first. You have to know all the orders of operation before you start growing. So I just implore anyone, just, get into the growing aspect however you can. Don't think you're above any type of, chore or any type of job. Just, get in and learn. But I think that's the biggest thing is just, putting your ego aside and being able to, shovel dirt for $12 an hour, whatever you got to do.
Yeah, man. And, for you moved all the way from New York to, to the West Coast to get into the opportunity. Talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah. So like I saw there's no kind of, real cannabis culture on the East Coast. I mean, I love smoking spliffs of, seeded up weed that I would get from a dude in the Bronx, but that's not real cannabis culture to me. So I figured I had to move to the West Coast and kind of jumped into it. Like I said, I had a homie who had a small grow in LA, and I just figured, hey, I'm going to jump into it. I went after my 9 to 5 just to kind of learn, skills and hone the craft. And that just enabled me to jump off and launch Magic Hour. Kind of gave me the skills of my own, so I didn't need to rely on other growers, consultants, anyone like that. So just jump into it, really.
Right. And Chris, for you, man, coming from the traditional market, what did you see as the biggest opportunity in making the transition, and how do those skills and what you bring from the culture really dictate and help to set Ball Family Farms apart from the competition?
I mean, the opportunities coming from the traditional market, into the legal market was basically just to get my brand, and my name out there in a legal framework, right? So that the opportunity also presented itself that I was going to be able to kind of take what I was doing, and not be able to put my money in the bank. Well, shit, I still can't put my money in the bank, but at least I could shout from the mountaintops, what I was doing and try to bring some family members along and kind of teach them, give them the $1 million education that, it took me, over 10,000 hours and 15 years of my life to get. I could kind of pass that down from generation to generation and try to create something for my family so that everybody in the family would have something, my kids, my grandkids, their kids, things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? And making the transition, man, was not easy. I speak about it all the time. The social equity program in Los Angeles or in California, to me, is still broken, very much so. There are not a lot of, there's not a lot of help when it comes to this program. So if you don't know how to navigate the application process, if you don't know how to go down to the city and file for your permits and talk to your engineers and your contractors and all these type of things, you're not going to make it. You know what I mean? If you don't know how to break down the verbiage in the application process and get through these things and have some money stacked away to go pay them expensive ass, fees that the city is going to charge you to get them licenses, you don't really have a shot. So, I believe that, we need as individuals in the space and as Black men in the space, it's kind of like, echoing again off of what my boy Bryant said, we got to be able to kick this door open and make it a little bit easier, you know, for the next generation coming up in this space. And I believe that if we band together, you know what I'm saying, because we are stronger in numbers, if we band together and make sure that there's a place for our people and our culture in this industry, we will have success. We will do like we do with every other industry. We'll do the same thing we do in the sports industry. We'll do the same thing we do in the music industry. We'll do the same thing we do in the acting industry. You know what I'm saying? We will take over this industry and protect our beloved cannabis space from these vultures, the culture vultures that are trying to come into it and rip it apart.
Big facts, man. And you're definitely doing that, man, with Ball Family Farms. I'll never forget the first time I told you, man, when I came across your website, I thought it was so dope because it really represented the culture, but also because it's a family business. Like you've been able to provide jobs not only for yourself and a career for you, but for the family, man. And it's nothing really iller than that, man. Talk, you know, how does it feel to be able to do that and then also be doing this in your same community back in LA?
Bruh, just when you know, even when I heard you say that back to me, like the hairs on my back stood up, you know what I'm saying? Because I know the space that my family is in now. Like my baby brother's the CFO of my company. You know what I'm saying? Like my little cousin is my facilities manager. My sister works in operations. You know, mom's is chilling. She's retired. You know, rent is paid. You know, friends who I've grown up with who maybe got furloughed during COVID and people who I know just had really great work ethic, you know, but didn't have a job at the moment. I've been able to bring them along and give them an opportunity, man. So it's like when I go to my facility or when I go to my office, it ain't nothing but love, bro. It's nothing but love, you know, and don't get me wrong, we family, you know, so we fight too, you know what I'm saying? It's not all peaches and cream, you know what I'm saying? We fight, but at the end of the day, everybody believes in me, you know what I'm saying? I got my family and my friends who love me, who trust me. I'm not looking over my shoulder, worrying about if somebody's gonna be robbing me. My brother's handling the money. I ain't gotta worry about my tax guy because my brother's got eyes on that. I ain't gotta worry about people stealing out the facility because my cousin got eyes on that. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a really beautiful feeling, man, to be able to look up every day and go to work with the people you love and have them look at you with so much admiration, you know what I mean? And just look at you for leadership, you know what I'm saying, in order to provide something better for them. You know what I'm saying? Like my little brother, my little cousin just got a new apartment, man just got a new car, you know what I'm saying? He want to propose to his fiance. I mean, it's just the list goes on and on, bro. It's just nothing. It's the Quan. You remember Jerry Maguire, a brother feels got the Quan right now. He got the money, he got the love, I got the Quan.
Yeah, man, and it's nothing iller than the love, man. And you know, talking about that family business, man, it makes me think of my brother Reg, man. Like he said, first of all, first Black cultivator in Massachusetts, man, no social equity, right? Like this brother just did this bootstrapping. But I watched my man over the time building this facility brick by brick, like he said, with his own bare hands. Reg, talk about what it was like, because you did that together with your family too. Talk a little bit about what that's like, and you know, build on what Chris was saying, talking about being able to do this as a family.
Yeah, man, I'm just right what Chris said. It's breathtaking to be able to turn around afterwards and look back at everything you have, and like, you know, I didn't go about it by hiring people and giving what I have away. You know what I mean? I had to get investors. Some of us have to do it, but I went and got family investors. I went and got people who are close to my family or within side that have the same values as me. And doing that, building the building was, you know, I pledged a couple of times. I done been through some things, but building a building was one of the most taxing things I've ever been through mentally and physically, because not alone, like you said, I was the one filing the permits. I'm the one writing the whole entire application for the CCC. You know what I mean? Like to the point where the stress of this application, you know what I'm saying, caused me to have an almost fatal asthma attack that put me in the hospital on life support for 5 days. And you know that it just changed. It changed my mindset. Already being a minimalist to somebody who doesn't live by abundance, going through an experience like that, and in the process, it woke me up to understanding that, you know, I have an opportunity here to lay a ground path and to work for everybody. Just like, you know, Chris, my head of compliance is my long-term business partner. I grew up next to the street from him, watching him dominate everything in life. My CFO is a lady I'm hiring now. I don't have the opportunity to bring a lot of family because I'm in Massachusetts. I'm 14 hours away from most of my, you know, 7 hours from immediate. There's not the same transitional period until we get up and booming. And a lot of people don't want to come up here in this code anyway. So I do a lot of my stuff remote. You know what I mean? My mom handles the money, you know, in Maryland. I have things set up. I bring people up here all the time. I think we have one person outside of our circle who isn't friends or family. And he's just a guy that I met at a grow shop, and I'm really close to the owner, and he needed an opportunity, and I needed another grower. So I'm like, come on, join on as a trimmer. And he came in, and it just gives you the opportunity to give back. And that's the greatest thing for me, is build a path and be able to give something back to people behind me.
Right, absolutely. And Bryant, brother, I know that you had a similar situation, and you talk about how you had the dispensary prior, and after how that got rated, you were able to transition and moving over to the cultivation side. What's the difference between the two, and what was that process like going from moving into the cultivation space?
Yeah, no, I mean, so, having a dispensary was actually, back in the day, the laws kind of dictated how you move, right? And so, one of the things, and I think Chris hit the hammer on the nail earlier, I mean, we didn't have, as Blacks, we don't have a lot of manufacturing, right? And so that's kind of where I wanted to plug that hole, right? I was kind of tired of going to everybody else and buying their flower, when I couldn't find us, right? I started the dispensary in lieu of the grow, actually, to make it legal. So it was one of those things where you had to have dispensary or patient signups, right? And so I wanted to have as many signups as I could to grow as much as I could, right? And then at the same time, be protected by the laws that at that time stood. And so that was one of the reasons we always tried to kind of maneuver best we could under, whatever guidance we could from, the legal team and everything else, just trying to make sure, because as a Black man, that's one of the biggest issues. I think a lot of us fail to realize this is still federally illegal. You know what I mean? And so, as a Black man, you don't have the parameter, the looseness that I guess some others can go with, and so, at the end of the day, I think the dispensary helped me out in the sense that I saw the retail side of it, right? And was able to leverage some of that and then also understand the workings of it and how a lot of the licensing stuff at that time were done. And so that helped me maneuver a little bit faster because as all the guys said, this is not easy to get licensed. It's not easy to get ready and get the state and city paperwork done. So I will say that initial introduction gave me, good insight to what was going on today.
Right. And let's talk about that a little bit more. How much does it cost to, to get started in, a cannabis cultivation facility? And if somebody decides that they want to do it, what's the first step that they need to take?
So in LA, it's first off based on the city, right? And then the state. And so, or at least that's the way it works for LA. You have to get local authorization, then you have to get state. That being said, in LA, the way they did it was they rolled it out into 3 phases. So the second phase was effectively the phase in which if you were deemed a social equity candidate, you were allowed to apply. That phase, during that phase, it was a social equity program that was established. And Chris said it, man, it's broken, right? So the ideas of fees and everything else is a little discombobulated, a little screwed up. But that being said, I can tell you it's not a in the city of LA, it's not a cheap endeavor. You're
36,000 to be exact.
I was gonna say, hey,
yeah,
that's cheap, right?
I'll say it for you, B. 36,000.
36, just the fees. That's just the fees, right? No permits, no pushing it through, the city, getting all those things, done. I mean, it's a massive undertaking. And honestly, I don't see how any social equity candidate on their own could make it through the process. And I don't think any of the cities in the states have set it up for that.
I definitely would not have made it through. And I'm a Berkeley graduate, so I know how to read and write at a higher level, right?
And you know what, Chris? That's the, Tahir, that's the exact point. You're talking to every brother on this panel, albeit we might have been in the traditional side prior to this. We all had job professional training that enabled us to be successful in this space, right? And that's what our responsibility is too, is to take this back and give that, oversight to our people, as well as helping them usher into this, because none of us would have made it. None of my buddies that were all traditional are here today, right? They're still traditional if they are still here, right? And so that's it's a critical piece.
Right, absolutely, and that's something that I've always recognized. No, go ahead, hop in. Who's about to talk?
Yeah, no. What they're saying is major, because in Mass we don't have to jump through the $36,000 hoop. you know, for a smaller tier, you can get in 2,500, but you're talking about a process that only reason why I can make it through is because I know how to build systems. So I know how to build business plans. That's what I went to school for. That's what I understand. And I'm an HBCU. I'm not as high as Berkeley. I didn't really even want to go to school, but graduating from Bowie State, working with a small company who did stuff for government contracting, I was able to understand the process of building something. So I went out there and found an application done in California, and I was able to mold my application based upon that. If you don't have the know-how or even the inspiration or the thought to do that, then you're stopped right there. And I've seen so many minority applicants open and then suspended or discontinued.
Yeah, man. And so going back to going to Oregon, Will or Jesse, could you guys talk about that process, the cost and how you get started in Oregon?
Yeah, I think Will, you might. So I'm gonna jump in front of you, Will, since you're on mute. Yeah, so you know, Will and I think are in the same position where when I got started in Oregon, first I had a dispensary that we sold to a group from California a little while ago, but also started in medical. And when we moved over to recreational, it's all about, you know, first finding that location, all those things that ultimately cost you way more money than the actual licensing fees. We didn't have a social equity program here in Oregon either. We're actually trying to get that pushed through right now with my nonprofit, the New Leaf Project. And with that nonprofit, we're this year going to give out, I think, going to cross over $1 million in grants and loans given out to Black and brown cannabis businesses operating in the city of Portland. But we didn't have any social equity program. The licensing fees, I think, in Oregon was important because if it wasn't for me being in Oregon, I don't know if I would have, even with my professional background, even with my ability to kind of get up some money in the traditional market or the medical market where it was here, I still, you know, was able to kind of benefit from low barriers of entry that are really focused on small business, you know, advancement in the state of Oregon. So a lot of people got concerned that, you know, there's no license limits, so there's too many cultivators. There's a lot of issues like that when you have that type of program. But with that being said, you know, me and Will were able to get in, I think, and really benefit from that competition, right? And benefit from really knowing how to cultivate, how to run a facility, how to run a team with not as much cost, because you really have to be there in order to really win in this type of market. I think the licensing fees maybe were like $5,000 to $10,000.
Yeah, I think it's 5 to 10.
Yeah, but then, you know, the other pieces, right, are finding the facility. Unfortunately, you're required to actually have that lease or have that purchase before you can get that license. One of the biggest, I think, hindrances to small business and Black ownership in the cannabis industry. But then also when you look at building out that facility, it's really, you know, I think from a bootstrap standpoint, you're going to be $50 to $100 per square foot. But, you know, I've consulted for companies who have spent, you know, over $250 per square foot in order to build their facility, in order to really be on point. So I think the licensing fees, you know, it's important that you find a state like Oregon where you're not really pressed to try to beat a bunch of other, you know, really well-funded companies to even get a license. But if you can get in and get a license with lower costs, then you can really show that opportunity to compete and go against those guys on the other end and beat them in that way. So, you know, we really benefited from that. I think Will probably has some things to add.
Nah, Jesse hit it on the head, but you know, when I was hearing Bryant and Chris talk, that kind of gave me nightmares and a flashback back to my grow in LA, because I had a grow in East LA, but looking at the licensing process, buying the building, the build out, I was looking at least $1 million. And like Jesse said, you know, I'm fairly well educated, had good jobs, but raising that kind of money just wasn't in the cards for me. And the low barrier to entry, like Jesse said, coming to Oregon, really allowed me to start up. So yeah, kind of find a state that works for you if you're not lucky enough to be in the social equity program. Like Jesse said, we don't have one in Oregon right now. So again, probe around, try to find somewhere that is a lower cost, you know, lower barrier to entry, somewhere where you can just get your feet wet and get that experience. Because from the experience, you'll be able to do anything. That's really
you can get to OKC, get there and start
for real, anywhere.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. Tell them about OKC.
Tell people they told me to go to like Iran, I would go to Iran, like wherever it is, like you have to take that plunge. If you want to get into it, that's what you have to do. You got to move to a state that has, jobs and an infrastructure available.
Yeah,
Right.
I can definitely talk a little bit about OKC. So we just closed 75 acres over there, and the purpose of us, I'm always going to have my baby, here in Los Angeles, but we are going to be moving production, over to OKC and start our bigger facility over there, because it just makes more sense. Like, the cost of doing business there is a fraction of what it is in California. The employee taxes are cheaper. The rent is cheaper. The power price per kilowatt is cheaper. Everything over there is cheaper. So, and the price of the product is the same as it over there as it is here in Los Angeles. So if I can produce my pound, if I'm producing my pound now for $1,000 here in Los Angeles, but I can produce it for $400 in Oklahoma, well, I just put $600 more in my pocket, per pound. So that's the big purpose of moving over into Oklahoma, and the city is very welcoming. The city and the state, they want the business there. So here, I've been in the queue for a power upgrade for damn near 18 months, with DWP. My power, I'm actually bringing power to land over in Oklahoma, and it's taking 60 days. Like, they're actually built, like bringing the transformer, bringing power to the land. It's not like LA, where I already have power and I just need you to come change the wire and give me a bigger transformer. You have been having me wait for 18 months. In Oklahoma, 60 days. You know what I'm saying? So, and I have a bank account in Oklahoma already. The grow's not even up, and we have a bank account. I have a Ball Family Farms bank account in Oklahoma. I can write checks. I can do, for my employees, I can do direct deposit. I can hire somebody to come do my payroll instead of walking around having, different people in my company having to walk around with cash, pay my employees in cash, and put people at risk. So, if you can get to Oklahoma and get you some a little bit of square footage and get your foot in the door and start there, it's going to be cheaper for you. You're going to have the opportunity to make a couple mistakes and still be able to operate. You know what I'm saying? Whereas in California, especially Los Angeles, you playing with the big boys. You ain't got no time to mess around, because the rent, the power, everything, the competition, everything is at the highest level.
Yeah,
I
man.
think he just to hear. I
Go ahead,
want
bro.
to jump on that, Chris. He definitely gave some keys right there, because a lot of people are focused on getting into these states where you got these protected markets, and I'm not gonna lie, a lot of those states are printing money. When you don't have much competition, you got 5 cultivators in the state, they're printing money, but they're also in a lot of states growing trash. So, if you look at what's happening throughout the country, and the fact that federal legalization really is kind of around the corner, if you're setting up a cultivation facility where you have high costs of your rent, you got electricity costs are crazy, you got grid instability, you got a water drought, you got city officials who aren't friendly, you've got high taxation. Those things, even though you're happy about having this cultivation business, and the cultivation business shit moves like, things operate based on harvest. So before you know it, you're 3 years down the line, and then you're just figuring out where things are going, and you got to be able to set up your facility with that in mind. So, definitely look at those states like Oklahoma, like Chris is mentioning, where you're looking at that low overhead to where you can sell into a New York or a Florida for cheaper than they can even sell to themselves at some point, right? Or even in Oregon, where we do have a moratorium on production licenses, but if this equity bill passes, then equity licensees will get the first look. They'll open back up the production stuff for equity licensees, retail, all those opportunities are here with that similar type of setup with the low overhead. So I think it's real smart.
Right, man.
Yeah,
That's such a good question. Go ahead, bro.
Oh, my bad. I was just going to say, to Jesse's point and Chris's point, like, do all of your research about these places. So all of this info, I can guarantee everyone on this panel, they found this info out themselves. They sought out an attorney. They got to it. They're proactive themselves. You know what I mean? So I get a lot of people hitting me up in the DMs, like, how do I start? That's a horrible question. The internet's right here. Google the regulations. Google what, Jesse's talking about the equity bill in Oregon. Google what's going on with that. Stay up to date. No one is going to hold your hand through any of this. So you really got to be like crafty. You got to be scrappy, and you got to figure it out for yourself. Then, people will want to help you. But if you're not doing the legwork, if you don't know the regulations, like, you got to be an attorney. You got to be, like Chris said, able to talk to people in the city, able to get stuff done. So Really got to wear all the hats and put in the work and do the research. That's the biggest thing.
I want to echo something that Will said, man, that just hit home for me because, you know, I get a lot of DMs too, you know, and people ask, Chris, how do I do this? Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? Let me tell you something for all you people out there listening. Every man up on this panel, I'm sure, I know for a fact, was not going around asking somebody, you know, to walk them into the space. I know for myself, I use the term relentless pursuit. You have to have relentless pursuit in order to be in this business, to get a piece at this table, and to sustain. Everybody on this panel has put in some kind of work and have made some sort of sacrifice, whether it's jail time, whether it's borrowing money from loved ones, whether it's spending countless hours in that grow, sleeping in that grow, being robbed, all kind of shit, right? If you don't have the passion to at least get up and go figure out the ordinance where you are, or go figure out the licensing process, I can only help you so much because I'm running my own business, right? So my days and hours are numbered already, still trying to navigate this thing and trying to lead by example. So if you come to me and you at least have something, you know what I'm saying? If you can show me that you've done some sort of due diligence, then I can point you in the right direction. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you got this here. Let me try to connect you with this person because this person will get you through that process. Oh, you got this so far? Okay, maybe think about doing this. But if you come to me with nothing and I have to strategize your entire plan, you don't have enough passion. You don't got enough love to be in this space, and I'm not even going to entertain it. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody in here on this panel, and if you having some sort of success, you put in your 10,000 hours. So don't come with nothing less than that.
Thanks, man. And talk about,
like, oh, my bad. One last thing. I know for a fact that I'm willing to help people that do put in the work. I can't talk for everyone else on the panel, but I'd assume everyone else, you know, if you come with the research and you come showing that you've done some legwork, people are going to want to help you. When I first came to Oregon, Jesse was the first person I hit up just to, you know, have coffee and talk and learn about the industry. But I wasn't asking him, yo, let me get a job, let me do this. He saw that I was putting in the work, moved to Oregon, was serious about it. So we're all willing to help, but you got to show that you're hungry and you want it. So.
Hey, Tahir, I know you're moving on, but I just got to say this because this I think is one of the most important conversations as from us being up here trying to teach people how to get to the next step. Most of the people who are on here have kind of taken those steps. That's why they're even, you know, in this point and they're listening, right? But, you know, when I first got in or decided, first I was growing in my basement, you know, and I was up till 3, 4 in the morning, trimming till 7 in the morning, going to bed at, you know, for 3 hours, waking up and trimming again for 2 days, you know? So you got to be able to do that. If you don't have those opportunities, what I also did is I put on a suit and tie in Oregon where nobody wears a suit and tie. And I went down to Salem and I sat in those meetings, you know what I mean? Just sat in all the hearings, sat in the back of the room, didn't know why I was there, didn't know what I was going to get from it. But I decided if you take that step with sincerity, right, and you really go hard, what happened there is I met this guy. And then that guy introduced me to that guy. And if I didn't meet this guy, then this opportunity wouldn't happen. And that wouldn't. So you got to go hard with that first step 100%. And I guarantee you that with that first step, you'll see where that next move is. Maybe that next move leads you to Chris and you've already done this and that and that. You know what I mean? Maybe that next move leads you to Reginald and he's building his new facility. Maybe it leads you somewhere you had no idea, but ultimately it's going to lead you somewhere if you're going 100% and going hard.
Hey, I have to double down, triple down, quadruple down on that. I just got off the call with brothers before I jumped on this one about building theirs. And the fact that they have an ACA, they have this, they have that, we can have a phone conversation. I give you an hour and a half of my time. I don't sleep. I roll out of bed, I put my shoes on, and while I'm doing everything else, I'm having phone calls, I'm answering questions to people who have answers, who work for me. I'm figuring things out. There's always problems in the grow. You're not doing a retail shop. Retailers, they build their thing, they follow the laws, and then they hire store clerks to run it. That's easy. Even product manufacturers, 90% of the work is running the machine. We have to run businesses that break down and need constant love and care and constantly evolve all over the time, especially if you're new at it. So if you're going tier 1 and you're not going to, where you have all this money behind you, get ready to change everything you thought you were going to do at any moment. Change everything. You have to be able to be pliable and go hard. We call it maximum effort over here.
Hey, Tahir, I'm gonna jump in one more time, bro. We just
Keep
hijacked
going,
this
bro.
whole
Keep
thing
going.
from
That's
y'all.
what we're here for.
But Reginald, man, he's mentioned another thing. We're talking about cultivation, and it's different. I think that there's no other industry, period, where you are relying on such big dollar opportunity for growing a living being, a living plant. You know what I mean? Like you talk about tomatoes, you talk whatever. There's not that much money, right? In this one piece, this 1 square foot of any other industry, right? So if you're not living and breathing cultivation, if you're not sitting in that grow room for like an hour just looking around, just trying to figure out something that you need to do, there's something that's wrong. If you can't do that and you're not doing that, you are not going to be good at cultivation, because I was in the room yesterday and I'm like, there's 1,000 variables. I'm giving a tour and I asked my main cultivator, who, has helped me a lot, and just making sure that everything is missing, even if I'm gone. And I'm like, how many variables are there in a room? And he said, there's infinite. And that's true, because it's not just temperature, humidity, dry back periods, pH. It's not those, it's the infinite combination of all those things. And if one thing changes, this changes. So there's this infinite combination of variables that you have to understand in order to bring this plant from seed or from clone all the way to flower over months, where if you make one mistake, it's going to show somewhere in the process. So if you're not anal, and we talk about things that's going to take to be a good grower, if you're not overly focused, if you're not very detail oriented, if you're not taking things to another level, and you're not doing things where it's like, I didn't really need to do that, but I did it anyway. If you're not triple, quadruple checking everything or figuring out a way to have redundancy, you're gonna lose in this market. You're gonna be like a lot of other people who have failed in cultivation. But if you are doing that, then you can be one of us, right? Who are, like a Will who started, came and he didn't have a facility and he just built his, from, pretty much the inside out. Myself, Reginald as well, Chris as well. You can be one of those guys who doesn't have a lot, has a little bit of skill, and then can build something and blow it up from a cultivation standpoint. But it definitely takes that almost anal retentive nature when you're in that cultivation space.
Obsession,
Yeah.
Big Jesse, obsession.
Yeah, exactly. It's got to be.
Yeah, talk
100%.
about it, man.
I mean,
So what is-
he's right,
Talk
man.
about this, we can talk about this for hours. I'm sure. I'm so passionate about this.
Yeah,
We
let's
can
talk
literally
about
sit
it.
here and talk about this for hours, bro, because I know I can hear it in everybody's story. I can hear the pain. I can hear the experience. I can hear it, bro. Like, I remember burning up plants. I remember burning up plants to the point to where I just fell on the ground and like wanted to cry, bro. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, I would walk into my room, I would leave the room and everything would be fine. And I come back the next day and all them plants is hunched over and dead. And I'm like, what the hell did I do this time? You know what I'm saying?
Motivation.
It took burning up plants for 3 years straight. I don't even think I made it through a full 9-week harvest in the first 2 years, like of anything that anybody wanted to smoke. But through those failures, right, I got better and I learned. And it was only through the failures, the failure after failure after failure, over pH, under pH, over newt, under newt, too much CO2, too little CO2, like anything you could possibly mess up in the grow room, I've messed it up, right? And now here I am, 6 years later, where now I've dialed in my process. But it takes that long. It takes leaving the grow room, going home, remembering, if I can't remember if I turned that water off and I don't flood my facility, get back in my car, drive all the way back to the grow, walk into that room and go, oh shit, okay, it's off. I turned it off. You know what I'm saying? Wake up in the middle of the night at 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh my God, did my CO2 timer, did I set it on the wrong setting? Get out of bed at 3 a.m., rush back over to the grow. Oh my God, everything is okay. These are actual real life situations. It ain't a walk in the park. You ain't gonna just put some plants in the dirt and get here. You better be ready to work.
Right.
Yeah, and one thing to toss on that, if you're gonna quit, don't do it. Like, don't start. I think all of us has been to the point where you look yourself in the mirror and be like, yo, am I crazy? Am I crazy for doing this? And we're talking about two different industries. There's people There are people who can do this industry and be commercial cultivators. I don't think anybody in this intro said we're commercial cultivators. We're all doing it for the love of the plant. So we're doing it for the high quality. Yeah, you can start to grow some big bud, give it,
Commercial shit.
555
Promote that
and
shit with
sell money.
PTR.
Yeah, you can grow some
Yeah,
commercial.
that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about that, that Just Incredible. That Ball family. We're talking about all these Magic Hour, all these great brands that I had the CCC call me up like, why do you have so much stuff destroyed? Why did you destroy so many plants? Because I didn't like the way they were growing. I didn't like I have people looking at my bud like, yo, you have a lot of what we will pay for A bud in your B bud. It's like, that's not A bud to me. You're not going to put my name on that. You know what I mean? So when you're doing that, when you're striving for it, that minuteness that he's talking about, it is important. You know what I mean? And when you're working for family, that's one thing Chris didn't touch on. You become the bad guy. You're talking about the people you used to laugh and joke with. You can leave it because I leave my business self in the grow, but they don't. So you have to be able to be okay being the bad guy and people are not liking you, especially until you pay them. And I don't know about y'all, but we started off we just paid people. Our first service just got bought last week. So we just paid the people who were out there with me 3 degrees building that building. So I'm not their friends during the first 2.5 years when I'm telling them, hey, you can't break for 30 minutes. We got to work all 22 hours of this day when we were throwing up our lights in order to get a rebate in 7 days because an investor wanted away from us. I couldn't make an excuse to say, oh, well, they didn't give me this. I didn't get that from them. What I did was, if I could, I opened up another credit card. We done did side jobs, go out, work for like 2-3 days, take that money, put it back in here. You know what I'm saying? We reduce our lifestyles to eating what we call PC. It'll be for the meat eaters, rice and beans and turkey. And for me, it'll be like vegan mix and rice. We would reduce ourselves eating that every single day to put every dollar into our building. And that's what you have to do. So if you're not okay with being uncomfortable, it's not the industry. This section of the industry is not for you. You're not going to win because I'm pretty sure everybody on this panel has been so uncomfortable that this is going to go down on their top list of their lives, and they're going to tell their grandchildren about all these times. So if you can't do that, if you quit things, it's
Oh, Reggie, you muted yourself, brother.
Oh, that was in. I was just stopping. Yeah, like I can go on for hours, so I was just stopping. You know what I mean? I just feel what you guys are talking. Like, man, I wish I was in this room. Like, the inspiration is crazy. I'm at a.
You did it again.
Yeah, man. And I know we're coming up on time, but before all of y'all go, I know one of the challenges that I hear a lot of Black cannabis entrepreneurs talking about is getting shelf space. I know my brother Chris already told me the answer to this before when we talked, but how do you really differentiate yourself and make it so that, how do you, in a congested market like California, how do you make sure that people want Ball Family Farms or in Oregon or Mass? How do you do that?
Absolutely. Well, to hear, me, man, I'm a marketing strategist, right? Like I have so much fun with this thing, man. And first and foremost, man, if you want some shelf space, I don't recommend, I've been approached with it, but I don't recommend you going to pay for shelf space, especially if you got limited funds, right? That's not what the culture is all about, right? If you go to a shop and they ask you to pay for shelf space, that's probably not the shop you want to be in, because everything that they're displaying are things that people have paid for, right? And that may not be the best product in the shop. So you want to focus on just growing the best flower, right? You got to be competitive when it comes to this. If you grow the best flower, they will put your flower out front where everybody can see it, because the bud tenders will tell them, this is some of the best stuff in here. Try this, right? After that, after you have succeeded in growing the best flower possible. Now, depending on what market you in, for me, if you in Oregon, it may be different. If you in Massachusetts, it may be different. If you in Oklahoma, it may be different. But in Los Angeles, my stakes are super high because my competition is fierce, right? I'm competing with some of the best growers on planet Earth, right? So for me, I decided to do something different. I decided to name my strains different names that would draw attention to my product. right? And that's where the marketing and stuff and the marketing of my shit came from, you know, the Daniel LaRusso, the Laurel Charles, to make sure that I'm going hard on our socials, to make sure that I'm giving people a feeling of nostalgia when they talk about Ball Family Farms, or when they grab my products and they smoke our products. You know what I'm saying? I wanted them to have fun. And that's just me. That wasn't some marketing firm gave me this strategy, right? This was just my passion for my industry and my culture and what I was doing. You know what I'm saying? My boys one of my best friends asked me, like, what you gonna call your first strain? And at first, you know, we trying to think of all these, he was throwing out all these food strains and, oh, it tastes like garlic, it tastes like lobster, da da da. And I was like, man, everybody does that. You know, I'm gonna go against the grain type of guy. If everybody going this way, I'm gonna turn around and look that way. Like, what's over there? Why ain't nobody going over there? So, and me being the movie buff that I am, I just decided, you know what? I'm gonna name my strains after movie characters that I like, movie characters that have inspired me as a kid growing up, movie characters who, you know, have kind of helped shape my mentality and who I am as a man today. So that's where the LaRusso and the Karate Kid came from. That's where the Last Dragon came from. That's where the Nino Brown, you know, a strain that's coming out later on this year came from. The Miss Parker, you know what I'm saying? The Clubber Lane, all these different things. So, and then it gives the people something to be excited about, right? I get DMs all the time of people grabbing the LaRusso and watching Cobra Kai or the Karate Kid. So I get people all the time blowing the Laura Charles and be like, damn, I remember the Last Dragon. So they done went and bought it on Amazon and watching it while they blowing the Laura. So it just, at that point, man, it just becomes fun, right? It becomes fun to give back to the culture.
Yeah, those are all my movies, man. It's definitely for me. How about for y'all brothers in Oregon, man? Tell us about how you, because Oregon is a super competitive market and a lot of weed out there, man. Talk about how you differentiate yourself in Oregon.
I mean, for us, it's all quality first. So nothing starts without the quality. Branding is cool, you know, being POC owned. We're also Latina owned, female owned. That's cool. But at the end of the day, it's all about quality. You know, if we were like owned by an older white dude, I would still want people to have, you know, the same respect for the flower. So again, we always lead with the quality, and then brand is huge. As Chris was talking about, they've done an amazing job. So is Jesse with the Loud out here. But once they know the quality is good, then you kind of, you know, catch them with the branding and make it sticky. So you have, you know, the narrative of your brand, the lifestyle that you're pushing, as well as the quality product. So I think a lot of people just start up with product and they don't really put too much thought into brand. And I think that's why, you know, personally for Magic Hour, we've been able to do well because we had the brand already, and then we came at them with the fire flower. So kind of that hybrid, having it ready is what allowed us to get shelf space. I think Jesse even took it a level further. Like I can speak to his marketing real quick. It's beautiful. So just having that attention to detail with the branding and the product, that's what you need.
Yeah, just to echo that too. Sorry, Jesse, I mean to cut you off. Echo what Will said. You know, if you're fortunate enough to have a brand already without the flower, then you're blessed. You know what I'm saying? But if you think you're gonna go create this pretty packaging, and I've seen it happen a million times, you're gonna hire the best marketing art director to do the packaging and the rollout and all that. You're gonna spend all these hundreds of thousands of dollars in marketing, and you're gonna just cater to women, and it's gonna be great. And then the flower inside of that packaging and shit, it is over for you. It is done, right? Dude, you will not get, that customer will not come back. I don't give a damn how pretty that packaging is. They are not coming back, right? I told people in the beginning, somebody told me, you can't name your strain, Daniel LaRusso. You are only marketing to yourself. I said, I can name my strain whatever I want. You know why? Because it's fire. I could name my strain shit. Excuse my French. I'm gonna name it shit. And when they get it, they're gonna come back and say, hey, y'all still got that shit? Because that was it. You know what I'm saying? So like Will said, and I'm sure what Jesse's gonna say, I'm sure what everybody on this panel is gonna say, quality first. Find the flower first. First and foremost, find the flower. Everything else comes second.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, especially in Portland, I mean, we're growing for highly discerning consumers, man. These are people who have been smoking the best weed. I mean, when I first moved to Oregon, I thought I was doing something when I was spending, you know, weeks in Amsterdam when I lived in Germany, right? I'm like, yeah, I know weed. I moved to Oregon and I'm like, yo, where are the mids? You know what I mean? They're like, mids? What the hell? And I'm like, yo, I can't smoke this shit on rock. I can't function. You know what I mean? So it took me a while to get there. And as I'm doing it, I'm learning more about what drives the market, you know? So you got to really understand the flower that drives the market, the characteristics that people want, the strains, the trends, potentially, right? You know, what's really new and what's really hot. But, you know, as you said, like these highly discerning customers, once they grab your bud and they smoke it and they're underwhelmed one time, you know, not only are they never going to buy it, but they're going to tell other people, man, don't buy that shit. You know what I mean? That is trash. You know what I mean? They're going to make fun of people because they're smoking it. You know what I mean? So you don't want to be in that area. And the only way you can do it is by growing the fire. You got to have the fire. And for a while, people, you know, in the industry, it was, if you grow it, they will come, you know, they will buy it just because it's weed and you can purchase it. And before you couldn't do that, right? So people kind of got caught up. As I mentioned, you're focusing on what's happening now and not thinking about the future. What happens when there's more people growing, right? And nobody's going to buy that shit. And it's going to be sitting and getting dry, and, you know, and going bad pretty much. So you got to have the fire. You got to focus on that. But the real key to me is like, these retailers are out here and they're the ones are kind of stuck. They're stuck in that one spot. They need people to know about them. They need people coming and they need it bad because 1,000 feet down the road, 1,000 yards, there's another dispensary and it has some of the same strains. So you got to find a way to make sure that your dispensary is differentiated, right? When you go in there and you develop those relationships with those retailers, you got to talk to them from their standpoint is how do you solve their problem? And maybe that's bringing the fire, maybe that's all these other things, but there's other things that a cultivator can do, especially if you're hot, especially if you got the market that can help that dispensary to win. And you got to maybe focus on those areas to where they more so see you as a partner. And they're saying, yo, we need Magic Hour. We need them because I need Will to come through because not only is he going to bring that fire, but they're also going to tweet about us or, you know, they're going to run a special, you know, through us, or they're going to have this dope packaging, or, you know, they got this new strain that they've been hunting that everybody wants now. And they're only going to give it to me for the first 2 weeks. Whatever it is, you got to find a number of things to really help that dispensary owner win. And, but, you know, as everyone said, if you got the fire, you got real good bud. Most people don't have it. It's hard to do it and it's hard to have it on a consistent basis, honestly. So if you can do that, then you can win in this market 100%.
And how about you, Brother Brian? Because I know you're moving units out there in Cali too, man.
Yeah, I mean, you know, everything that everyone's saying is it. I mean, here's the thing: quality is people always respect quality. If someone goes to that store and they buy that product, you don't want them to buy it once. You want them to come back and buy it. You know, I love what the Ball family did. I mean, Chris hit the hammer on the nail. I mean, we associate smoking, you know, that sativa now with, you know, his names. You know, it's great marketing. It makes you, you know, active in what's going on. It makes you want to look up those movies and see what those characters are. You know, we have to make it relative, but at the same time, he couldn't be there if it wasn't for quality, right? You know, Black Star, we wanted to make this. We knew the only way we were going to be around was if we actually grew some quality stuff, because we're actually judged on a different level, guys. I mean, you know, that's the reality of it too. You're talking about getting in the stores. It's not just getting in the stores. It's like, hey, before the Black movement, right? Of the recent like 8 months in COVID, you know, a lot of us may have not gotten in the stores, you know, and so now that has happened, we have to leverage it, and it also requires the Black audience to go out there and support us, you know, and so, you know, we give our all, because every day is not just, to me, you know, and I'll take it a step higher. It's not just flower, everybody. To me, this is bigger than that. You know, this is in the Black community. What do we manufacture anymore? In the Black community, what do we see from seed to shelf anymore? Right? I can't name one thing. I mean, now, of course, they got some farmers out there and everything else that are growing grains and everything else. But guess what? We're not seeing anything through that entire supply chain. This was our opportunity to do that, you know, and to me, this is, you know, it's bigger than just cultivating. It's cultivating our culture. It's cultivating who we are, you know, and so all that goes into this product. You know, I mean, I'm putting all of that into my product. I'm putting I'm dedicating hours for social equity. I'm dedicating hours to get on these discussions with these gentlemen. And I'm asking them after we hang up, guys, this is beautiful. Let's talk some more after this is over with, right? Because, the things that are being said, everybody needs to hear, man. I wish that people understood that what you're getting from this panel is like, I don't even want to say anything. I just want to listen because it's so inspiring. It's so relative to what we've been through, and to hear from someone else, it almost makes you take a seat back because you're like, man, I wasn't living in a crazy world. This is reality, right? And so many of these other brothers have gone through the exact same thing. And it's all about creating. I mean, Black Star was named Black Star because of Marcus Garvey, right? We wanted to build our name off of something that was and emulate someone that I think tried to make a total change to the Black community, right? This is the second go around. Hopefully we get it right this time. And I think with these panelists you put together, the sky's the limit, so my
To hear, man. I just want to say one more thing to that point of like getting on shelves and all that. Let me tell everybody this right now. The cannabis industry needs Black men to be successful, to be legitimate.
That's right.
The cannabis industry was built on the backs of our community, right? From an arrest rate. The cannabis industry became legal partly because of the medical movement, right? Because of what was happening in California and HIV patients, yes. But also because of the argument that we can't be arresting people. Black people were arrested too much. So we need to make this legal, right? So it became that way because of us. And also when you look at the culture, it's us ingrained throughout it, left and right, sideways, from the strain names to the lingo, to the discussions, to the cult, to the fashion, all those things. So in order, Black women too, somebody mentioned it, Black people, agreed. But Black men, I'm speaking about specifically only because of the panel. So you got to build that authentically in everything that you're doing. And when you go to that retailer, they need to know that, right? They need to see that culture ingrained in everything that you're doing. And they will ultimately, if they want to grow their business, if they want to provide their consumers with something that is going to be reflective of what they want, with what they know in the industry, they will have to find a way to bring you in if you have that fire, man. So, I mean, it's not going to be a riddle. It's not going to be all these different things. You ain't got to, give Chris to give you all the game on how to get on the shelf space. You're going to realize that when you grow that fire and you come authentically to the market with who you are, there's a space for you and it's going to be big.
Man, I echo that real quick to hear, just real quick, because I don't know how much time we got, but I have made a note right here on my piece of paper to talk about that, right? Because you asked something earlier about what it's like being a Black man in the space right now. And I'm gonna keep it a buck. Right now, it's good to be Black and be in cannabis. It's a blessing to be Black and be in cannabis because, like we talking about, if you grow quality, right? And I don't know why it lined up like this. I don't know why COVID happened and then this legalization happened and then Black Lives Matter happened and then support your Black businesses happening. But the combination of that cocktail is what catapulted Ball Family Farms to the next level, right? It wasn't luck. It was, or what some people call luck. It was my preparation meeting the opportunity, right? I have been preparing for the past 15 years for this moment, for this opportunity. And when it hit, it really hit, like the stars aligned for Ball Family Farms. So it was good that I was Black because everybody wanted to be in business with a Black cultivator. It was good that my damn dog, I'm gonna kill this dog.
Mine's right here.
It was good, I'm saying, to have a brand and be one of the faces of social equity in Los Angeles. All those things, just started to come out of nowhere. But how did I get there? From 10,000 hours of relentless pursuit, you know what I'm saying? And growing the fire, identifying the genetics, growing the fire so that there was no thinking for them. What? You got some of the best weed in the market and you're Black and you're social equity? Oh, please come. We want to put you right here. We want to highlight you. So right now, for all the Black and brown people listening, it's a great time for you. But don't come into this industry limping. Come in and be able to bring some to the table. Come join the table and be able to add. Don't come to the table to take away. come to add.
And let me
Oh,
because let me tell y'all something. The problem I've seen with Black community and us supporting our businesses is that we don't work together, right? And let me tell you, I can tell you earlier today when I looked at this panel, I told you, I said, I've either spoke to one of these gentlemen, I've seen them on another panelist, or I've heard their name. It is, let me tell y'all, I'll give you pure, a couple of weeks ago, Weedmaps was reaching out and evidently talked to Chris, and Chris didn't have to do this, but Chris referred Weedmaps to me, right? Because guess what? We're all in the same game. And let me tell you, that to me speaks volumes of what we're trying to create here now, is that we have to put a foot forward to work together, right? We have to put a foot forward to support each other as Black entrepreneurs in this business of Black cannabis, right? And so this has to be a collaborative effort. It has to have an ecosystem where we're leveraging the ecosystem to work together and be together.
It's enough money for everybody, man.
yeah, like you guys, yeah, you guys are 100% right. Here in Maz, getting on shelf space, it isn't hard. Like we have, I guess, a good advantage that we don't have to grow fire to get on shelf space. We are that market that Chris and Brian and all of them are talking about, that there is limited, you know, we don't have a license cap, but the municipality controls it and they can cap it, and all of them are capping them by liquor licenses, and their zoning things so strictly that we, you know, and people will fool and say, oh, you can go to Mass, it's easy. I started looking for different areas if I wanted to go to a new part of the state. Unless you got millions of dollars to buy people warehouses and land, you're not going to find a place easy for you even to build from scratch in Massachusetts right now. Everything is already licensed out, or they're within the limit of their municipality cap. So we do have a limited number of cultivators, and it's taking us a lot longer. Mass, they roll slow. You know, they're going really slow with the licensing. So if you want to, sorry, I was reading the comments. If you want to become Mass, you can do it, but you have to get in. I mean, I think now you have to get in real early, and that was my major plan for me. You know, we have strands that speak about our name too, like the Garrett Morgan Gas Mask, GM. We have Fructose Station. You know, I'm getting ready to drop, you know, one after one of my greatest idols, Kobe Bryant. So there's things that you have to do. And what I love, Chris, about you, man, I sent you a DM, but one thing I love about you is you authentically you. I don't like when I see my people come in this industry and get robbed of our uniqueness. Like, I'm me, 100% me. I'm not putting on a suit, and I'm not going down there being somebody a character or being something to make somebody else comfortable. I'm me. You know what I mean? That's why I decided to do business my way. And I want to see more and more Black people get into the industry and do it our way. You know, with all culture, they bite us with everything they do. They love to promote our music. They love to promote our symmetry, our movies, and put us on the front of something, but then they don't like the way we act. And I'm not with that. I'm not with it. I never have been. And that's just me being me. So I would love to see all of them, everybody be them. And we do need to unify. We're talking about that now here in Maz. This is the first time in America that two things has happened. One, the whole entire United States is in the climate to support Black people. And two, we have an industry that we can get in and exploit. There has never been a time in America like we had access to an industry that made us this much money, even with us being farmers. We don't make that much money being grain farmers or rice farmers or tomato farmers or whatever we're doing all across the nation. Now we have that opportunity to do something that each one of our plants, even in an oversaturated market, is you know, growing for thousands of a pound. There's nothing else we can do that with. And we can do it with our knowledge. You can grow cannabis. You can take your time and learn it like Chris did. Like he said, he killed years and years. My first 5 years doing it by myself, you know, I tried every single method and I didn't have anything I would give somebody to smoke. But now I took my time and I learned these plants and I got into the zone to be able to provide great things. So don't come in here to be commercialized. You know what I mean? We might as well come in here and be great like we're meant to be.
Facts, man. Yo, y'all dropped so many gems. I know we went a couple minutes over and all y'all got businesses, so I'm gonna let you go. Wish we could go on forever though, man. But I want to tell actually each one of y'all thank you. And to everybody out here listening, man. Want to make sure I tell tell y'all thank you, man. This will be my last webinar that I'm doing for NCIA, and it's been a pleasure to be here in this role, serving everybody, especially the social equity community. Everything I've been able to do with the Social Equity Scholarship Program, all of our members. I'm so thankful for the opportunity. And it couldn't have had to be with some better brothers, man. Like y'all made my day. So thanks so much, and I look forward to keeping in touch with everybody. Holla at your boy.
Appreciate you, man.
Well, fantastic. I don't think that any other words would suffice past Tahir's departure. So we really wish Tahir the best of luck. We can't thank Tahir enough for all of the work that he's specifically done developing out this Catalyst Conversation series underneath of our Industry Essentials webinar program the last few months. And we really appreciate all of you all taking the time to not only participate on today's panel, but all of the audience members for joining us today as well. As always, we're going to wrap up today's Industry Essentials educational webinar with a quick preview of some upcoming activities on NCIA's calendar that we'd all like you all to participate in, and then leave you with our end of event credit sequence highlighting all of the participants, member companies, and all of the 145 plus businesses that Tahir personally has brought underneath NCIA's umbrella over the last few months with our diversity and equity scholarship program. Additionally, as I just shared this contact information slide, I know there was a lot of outstanding questions that were posed throughout the program. We had such a fantastic conversation. We didn't want to interrupt anything during that. So like I said in the chat room, please note that all of the panelists are going to be provided all of these awesome questions if they're not getting to them right now during this outro period. And we will be doing a post broadcast follow-up in blog form on today's conversation, answering and addressing any of those outstanding questions. And then additionally, we also highly encourage all the audience members to take note of contact information here listed for all the panelists. As they mentioned throughout the conversation, they would love for you all to contact them with any information that you all might want to share, collaboration that you might want to conduct, and then additionally, any feedback that they might be able to provide you all on any business plans or opportunities that you're pursuing as well. Feel free to take advantage of that and reach out to them following the broadcast. All right, and next up, we do have another Industry Essentials educational webinar taking place just this week. So just gonna give you a quick preview of that session so you all can hopefully register for it after today's session wraps up. The cannabis industry's 2019 capital crunch leading into the 2020 COVID pandemic was a very difficult time for everybody in the cannabis industry, to say the least, and of course continues to present very difficult challenges as we speak. However, some positive culture shifts and creative hiring practices in the industry were born out of this as a result as well. Tomorrow, you can hear from cannabis industry recruitment leaders, Brian Passman of Hunter & Esquire and Kimley Venson of Drive Talent, who will be sharing insights from their frontline experiences. As with all of our Industry Essentials educational webinars, this session is free for all current NCIA members and $15 for non-members interested in participating. Log into your account to secure your free pass, activate your membership to gain access to this and other amazing benefits offered, or purchase a non-member pass to continue engaging with this invaluable content prior to taking the plunge on an annual commitment. And as a special thank you and a token of appreciation for all the attendees in the audience room, I know we have a lot of non-members that were brought into today's event by our panelists, so very much appreciate you all participating and engaging in that content. You can secure a free pass for tomorrow's session by using the discount code DriveTalent100, which is I'm going to post into the chat room right now. And then feel free to reach out to myself or my colleague Brooke after the session wraps if you have any difficulties redeeming that free code. All right, and then additionally wanted to make note that we also have upwards of $75 worth of free tickets for members to redeem for our upcoming Industry Essentials educational webinars taking place over the next month and a half. After today's broadcast wraps up, you'll be directed to an attendee survey, and then also the events calendar on our upcoming section of our website. All NCIA members can pay for 1 month of free membership by just redeeming those tickets alone. So definitely make sure to log onto our website, look at all of the upcoming activities that we have under the Industry Essentials webinar calendar, and secure as many of those free tickets as you have available to you for the next few months. And then finally, a huge shout out and thank you to the benefactors of NCIA's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion program, with this month's featured companies including Tahoe Wellness Center and Copper State Farms. These businesses have taken their commitment to social justice to the next level by providing significant financial support for all of our DEI efforts across the association. You can learn more about these initiatives on NCIA's website by following the short link on this page. And then you can join the ranks of these pioneering businesses pushing for a more equitable industry today. All right. And with that, thank you all so much for participating in another NCIA Industry Essentials educational webinar. A huge thank you once again to our host, Tahir Johnson, our panelists, our audience members, and all of the member businesses which make our work possible each and every day. Please complete the attendee survey after leaving the meeting room to gain immediate access to our presentation. And do note that all NCIA members receive exclusive 30-day access to a formatted video recording first sent to all of them to their email inbox. So stay on the lookout for a follow-up email where you'll be sent that as well. If you want to share that with any colleagues or coworkers who might not have been able to attend the live broadcast, feel free to do so. We will publicly release this session 30 days from now, first on our YouTube channel and then our website. Hope you all have a wonderful week. I look forward to seeing you all next time, hopefully tomorrow, for another NCIA Industry Essentials educational webinar. As always, we'll leave you all with this end of event credit sequence highlighting the 145 plus member businesses that make up our Social Equity Scholarship Program and that participated in this afternoon's session. As always, we'll showcase some audio stylings by our resident musician at our Colorado-based events, KJ Liss, and his Illinois-based musical side project, Indigo Sun. Thanks again, and we'll see you hopefully tomorrow.